After completing his redshirt freshman season at Cal Berkeley, offensive lineman Mike Tepper had his life and career threatened. Defending a female friend from a car full of harassers, Tepper was hit by the car and dragged about 30 feet. In the process, his leg was ran over twice, but his incredible drive led him not only to walk again, but to go on and finish a successful career with the Cal Bears, and now he's hoping to hear his name called on draft weekend. And we welcome Mike Tepper to ESPN First Take to tell his story. Mike, thanks so much for coming on with us. We appreciate it. What do you remember most about that night?
Well, the most memorable is definitely the excruciating pain going through the whole incident. You know, it's something that's going to stick with me for a while, and you know, just the whole experience in general was pretty shocking.
As soon as the car was off your leg, what sort of inventory did you run through to see exactly what happened, what injuries you had sustained?
Well, first, I was laying on my chest and in the middle of the street, and I kind of paused and was like, okay, you know, let's think what's okay. I'm still alive. I'm looking around. Everything's still there. You know, then I started going down the body parts. How are the arms doing? How are the legs? How's the chest? You know, reach down, grab my leg, looked at my hand, big, almost like wet paint dripping off of my hand, but blood.
I mentioned that you were defending a female who was being harassed by a group of by a car full of guys. How did that? Take us through exactly what happened, how it led to that.
Well, my neighbor and I were walking up the street on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, and a car pulled up kind of fast, and we're hitting on my neighbor, and nothing too aggressive at first, but then it got pretty heated, and we tried kind of getting away from the situation, and I kind of stepped up and got in an argument with the passenger who was kind of hanging out the window a little bit, and it got escalated very quickly, and the driver ended up putting the car in reverse and punching it. Front end swung out and clipped me, and I got my leg caught in the wheel well and was dragged for about 30 feet backwards down Dwight Avenue at the intersection of Dwight and Telegraph. And I ended up grabbing a crate, like a grate in the street, and locking and holding down, and the car. My leg got ripped out of the car, and I was laying there, and I looked back, and the car was coming back at me probably 25, 30 miles an hour and hit me a second time.
Wow. What eventually happened to the guys in the car?
Well, from the police report, from what I've heard, is they took up the street, they sped up the street to about a couple blocks, and tried making some quick turns to get away from an undercover cop that was a block away that saw the whole situation, and they ended up hitting a parked car, and totaling their car. The men then got out of the vehicle and tried getting away on foot.
Were they eventually caught?
Yes.
Now, I also read that once out of the hospital, you were heading down the same street, and you actually saw your bloody shoe still lying there on the scene. Is that the case? And if so, what was it like for you to have to see that?
Well, first I felt kind of bad because I was in a wheelchair, an electric wheelchair, and I was driving down the street, and I looked over, and there's this street cleaning guy, and he's high pressure washing my stained blood spot on the ground. And I saw my shoe that I had ripped off my leg, or off my foot rather, in the street, and he was cleaning it. And I wanted to be like, hey, I'm sorry, that's me on the street, but my apologies. But it was definitely pretty intimidating to realize that was me, 2 nights ago, laying there, and it was a pretty scary experience.
It sounds like it would be. Now take us through, if you would, Mike, the rehab process, because I'm sure that had to be grueling for you. What was your recovery like, and how long did it take before you were back on the field playing football?
Well, the doctors had told me, hey, we've dealt with football injuries before. It's not too common that we get a person who gets run over by a car twice. So we're gonna make some guesses on how long your recovery is gonna be. It's gonna be a little more extent than we thought. So we'll give you some broad numbers. And they told me I expect walking within 8 to 9 months. running within another 3 or 4, maybe 6 months at the most. And so the whole process was very long for me. I had 2 surgeries. My second surgery was I had surgery right after the incident to repair everything in my ankle, and then had a second surgery to get some mobility in my ankle, take 2 screws out. But the process was, every day, 3 times a day rehabbing for about a year and a half. And I got back on the field a little bit to kind of do some running and change direction stuff. And in October, late October, early November, which was very speedy for what my doctors predicted.
And how long was that from the time of the injury then?
That was probably injury happened in late June, 6-7 months.
Wow. Well, I'll say that is incredible time, especially when they thought that it could take up to 2 years. You've been through a lot, and I mentioned before we did the story that yours is unlike anyone else that we've heard coming into the draft. What are your expectations of what will happen on draft weekend?
Well, I just hope to get picked by a team. I hope somebody finds a little knack for me and they like me. But I hope to get drafted. I expect to get drafted, hopefully, and at least hopefully make a roster squad and be a contributor to whichever team takes me.
Well, your story is an incredible one, and we'll be looking for your name, if not on day 1, on day 2 of the draft, and if not then, and as a free agent, we'll be pulling for you, Mike. Incredible story. Congratulations on overcoming it. Good luck at draft weekend, okay?
Thank you very much.
And